there, thanks for watching. We're sitting here at home in our backyard after a 6-day camping excursion, our longest yet. And we're here to tell you about some of the things we experienced. I think all of us know in the camping and van life world that things happen, right? Things don't always go your way.
Stop. Hey, I'm Scott.
And I'm Sherry.
And we are
the coolest campers ever.
Thanks for checking out this video. Like Sherry said in the introduction, our 6-day, 6-night camping trip was the longest we've had with our Go so far. And we learn things every time we go out. But we've got a list right here. It became so funny to us anyway, because none of it's serious. One of them kind of is. But it became so funny that I had to think back to, we watched Bob and Hillary with the Vancaskeys. So major shout out to you two, because we want to grow up and be like you. Seriously, we love your channel. We love your style and the way you do your videos. And we want to have a Class B at some point. That will be our next step up. So we're learning a lot from you two, but we also can empathize. Words are hard.
Words are hard.
We understand the Mr. Lemon thing and the 0 days without an incident. And we love that you guys
Just picture a whiteboard right here that says 0 days since our last incident.
Yeah, so ours aren't as serious as some of yours when you have, you know, breakdowns of a driving vehicle and those kind of things. But we love that you have that approach to it. And we just started laughing about some of these things. And we thought, we're going to put together our top 10 days without incidents. So let's get started, because we're going to need some help with this. So cheers, here we go. Take away with number one.
We couldn't even go one day because while we were packing, we realized that we could not find the tablecloths that we had purchased to help us cover like whatever picnic table was available to us at the campsite. The funniest thing about this is that recently we were at Walmart doing a few little things, you know, camping-wise shopping, independently of each other shopping. We both checked out independently of each other, met at the car, and realized both of us had bought tablecloths. So we had two, and we couldn't find either one of them. We still don't know where they are. We still haven't found them, but somewhere in our home are two tablecloths. So we didn't make it out the door without incident.
So that's sort of a 0 day.
0 days without incident.
And
then we got to the campsite and realized that we had also forgotten our tent stakes.
For the GOzeebo, mainly.
For the GOzeebo. Like, obviously the Go doesn't need tent stakes, but we do have the GOzeebo, and we had no tent stakes to speak of. Fortunately, we were close to Scott's family, and his sister and brother-in-law have some tents, so they were able to come to our rescue and provide stakes for us. So we had the whole campsite staked out, our awning, the GOzeebo, all of that. So props to Amy and Jeff for coming through with the tent stakes.
Yep, that was awesome. So that's number one. Item number two, we realized once we got to the campsite, it was about a 3-hour drive. We had bought a Ryobi misting fan. I got a great deal on it. As you know, I'm out for finding good deals.
Always.
I got a really good deal on it.
Never pay full price.
Yeah, I didn't pay full price for it, even lower than the sale price. But you have to have a bucket, you know, like a paint bucket, to put that in to blow the mist out. And it was packed in the Go, in the upright position for traveling with our e-bikes. And we got to the campsite and there's no red bucket. So it's in a ditch somewhere between here and central Kansas. So
somewhere between Lawrence and Sterling, Kansas is a red bucket, just living its best life, we hope. So
yeah, so that's
0 days.
I think that's about the point where we realized, oh, we got to make this video, because that's basically kind of three things: the tablecloths, the stakes, the red bucket. But tell us about the next one. Oh, here, there's item number two.
Item number two.
Item number 3.
You realize that we've done all of this and we haven't even started, right? The next one, we went into town because we knew we were going to be close to town. We didn't buy any of our groceries. So we went grocery shopping. The whole point of kind of why we were there is to enjoy like this small town. They have this big old-fashioned 4th of July with a parade and vendors and all the things. We'll have a video about that. To participate in all the things, to get into the dance and be part of a raffle drawing.
Community barbecue.
The barbecue, like all the things.
Midnight swim, all the stuff.
Oh, midnight swim, all the things that you could be involved in. You had to buy this button that you would wear the whole week, and you know, that was your admission, your wristband as it were. And so there we are in the grocery store, and they don't take debit cards.
Well, they do for the purchase.
Oh, sure.
So we were buying our groceries and we could use our debit cards there.
And we were like, hey, throw 2 buttons in. We want our 2 buttons. And they were like, oh, you have to buy those separately. And then it was like, oh, you have to have cash or check. I can't even remember the last time I wrote a check.
I don't even own checks.
You know, have to have cash or check. You have to buy those at the customer service desk. No, they don't have an ATM. Fortunately, this guy happened to have some cash on him, so we were able to get our 4th of July buttons, but we just laughed at ourselves that we were like, well, we wanted the small town experience, didn't we? So cash or check it is, apparently.
Yeah, and 2 things. One, to Bob and Hillary, we understand this isn't like your 0 days without an incident, but we just had to laugh at these things.
It became ours and our mantra of 0 days.
There we go. And
no
that's
incidents.
The 3rd item on our list. Yes, I should mention too that the only reason I had cash in my wallet is because I sold one of those grills in one of our other videos. I said we weren't going to keep. I sold it on Marketplace, so I had $60 cash on me. That's the only way I had cash.
It was camping cash, so it counts, right?
Yeah, there we go. So number 4, is that me?
Yep, that's you. Also related to small town life.
Yeah, so we get camp set up, and it was about 7:30 in the evening, and we thought, well, you know, we don't really want to cook this late.
It was a little later than that because we'd set up, done all the shopping, done all the things. We were kind of tired, and it was late. It was like 9. It was like almost 9 o'clock.
It was actually almost 9 o'clock because there's one Mexican restaurant in this town and a Subway and a couple other local cafes that we knew were closed on a Saturday evening. So we Google the Mexican restaurant, and it shows their hours until 10 o'clock. We're like, great, let's go get some chips and salsa and have a beer and just chill after we set everything up. And we get there straight up at 9 o'clock, and that door is locked as tight as can be.
Not a car in the parking lot.
Nope.
Like the employees were gone. So it wasn't even like they were inside cleaning up and finishing up.
Nope.
They had shut that restaurant down like at 8 at least.
But at 9 o'clock it was closed when their Google review or Google listing showed them open till 10. And we found out later again from family that lives in town that they're open till 10. We don't know why they weren't open.
So
not a major thing.
Not a major thing. None of these are like, well, most of them aren't major things. But once again, there we were. We had started counting the things that just weren't quite going our way on this one. So the restaurant being closed at 9 o'clock at night and there being no other places open in this small town at 9 o'clock at night was 0 days since our last incident.
And this is all in day 1. Literally day 1. This is still Saturday.
So like -6 days since our last incident.
Bob and Hillary, I hope you don't have negative days without an incident. But we're into like -4 days.
We're negative. We're negative at this point.
I should mention too that because there was nothing else open in that town except a Casey's gas station, and we know Casey's makes pizza.
Oh, I forgot that.
Yeah, this isn't even on the list. This is a bonus item. We thought, well, let's just go to Casey's and we can each get a slice of pizza and we'll go back and chill for the night. We get there and they had no pizza in the rack, which again, it's a small town. By this time it was like 9:15. And we asked if they would make a pizza, and you would have thought we were speaking Martian or something. They didn't understand what we're like, we'd like to order a pizza. Do you have a menu? Anyway, we did order a pizza.
The menu board was missing. Like the menu board wasn't working. So we literally went out to our car to get our phone to order from the app.
Exactly. Right there in the parking lot. I forgot that too. Order from the app. And then it said it would be ready in 15 minutes, and we went back and picked it up and went to the campsite and had pizza.
Had our pizza at 10 o'clock at night or whatever.
So
it was
Sherry,
at
let's
that
get to
point.
number 5 on the air mattress, which is still from the first day. Well, no, this might be in the second
by
day.
the next day,
Yeah.
but like we had to figure it out. So we have the Sylvan Cloud mattress system, like the thicker mattresses. We really do like them. We aired up our mattresses. We had the Go set up, all of the things. So we get through the night, and by a few hours into the night, I knew that things were not going well. So it became very clear that my mattress has sprung a leak in some way. We're still not sure exactly what is wrong with it. We can't see like a really obvious defect in it, but it's clearly not holding air. We'll get that replaced, but our longest camping trip that we've ever been on, and I was on a deflated mattress for most of the time. Each night I would re-air it up, hope for the best, get in bed and be like, oh yeah, that feels good. And then by a couple of hours in, it would be back down.
Again,
So
not the worst thing that could happen, but that was probably the first thing that was,
I was
really
going to say, for a long trip, it was less than optimal to have my mattress not working. So,
yeah. So here's to
0
Sherry.
days. Huh.
We probably should have brought out a
We should have.
six-pack.
I was just about to say, I'm not sure we're going to have enough to
No.
get through this. So,
I'm taking it easy.
speaking of,
Speaking of, number 6 on the list. So we're into Sunday, the second day, first night, second day, and we were going to go to the bigger grocery store in a town that's about 20 miles away. We knew this grocery store would have everything we needed because they call it the Six Flags of Dillon's.
Six Flags over Dillon's. It's this giant Dillon's store that has everything you could possibly imagine that would be available.
So we thought, well, we're going to go there and, get everything we need for the rest of the week. And this town, this county, I don't know. I didn't know this was a thing still in anywhere in the world, but evidently you can't buy alcohol on a Sunday in that town. So again, minor thing, but it's just frustrating. It's like, are you people in 2024 or what? Are we in 2050 or 1954? Because all the coolers with liquor in them, alcohol, beer, wine, whatever, were all dark and closed up. So no Sunday liquor sales, but
Rolled up the sidewalks.
we found some.
We did find some later.
So we're good. Not in that town though.
So 0 days, 0 days.
So how about we go to,
Again, we were in this town. We were fairly close to civilization. We weren't out like in the woods and such. It was almost more like camping in a park per se, because we were close to the lake / pond-ish, but also fairly close to a bathhouse that had an actual swimming pool. Actually, it was really nice. I wouldn't mind having that feature going camping in the future, just because on a hot day, it's kind of nice to just throw on your suit and go to the pool. So we arrive, we're excited, it's hotter than blazes, and we are ready to get in this swimming pool. Scott goes around to the other side because he's brave and he just like jumps in. I don't. I take the little stairs and get in the swimming pool. So I took one step into the swimming pool. I look over to Scott like, ooh, here we go. And they blow the whistles and call like safety check, like everyone out of the pool.
I'm not joking. I look at her and it's one step in the water and I haven't even jumped in yet. And they're like, clear the pool.
Everybody out. So we were like, well.
And again, most pools that we've gone to, they let the adults stay in the pool when they do that.
Yeah,
So
they'll
all
clear
the
it out,
kids-
do the safety check, and then it's adult swim, right? I love adult swim. I like go to swimming pools and take advantage of the adult swim. No, everybody out for like 15 minutes. But it was just one of those things, when nothing is going your way, like when just things just keep happening. So then when something does happen, you just laugh even harder. We were just like, really? We
But
can't even get in the
remember what we
swimming pool.
did? We walked out. I said, let's go across the street. And right across the street was a splash pad that you push a button and water squirts out and comes
they've got all
everywhere.
kinds
So
of
we went over
fountains
there
and things going on. It was actually really cool. So we went over there and hung out there for like 10, 12 minutes, whatever. Came back, and then they opened it back up. So we were able to get in the pool. It wasn't like the pool just closed on us, which really it felt like that's what should have happened based on how we were dealing with everything.
So there's number 7 on the list. So we're
0
still
days.
at like minus days because we're only
We
day
never
2
make
into
it. We never make it back up.
No, we never get into the plus. I can't believe Sherry's going to talk about this one, but let me preface it by saying the night before this happened, we were riding, we took Sherry's e-bike and my scooter, and we were riding around town, and we drove by this little place called Dairyland. It's like a Dairy Queen, just an ice cream place in a small
One
town.
of those kind of little small huts, though, that you just kind of
Tiny
walk
little
up
thing.
and
It's
get
been
your
there
stuff.
forever. It was there when I was a little kid. And we drove right by it, and Sherry's like, "Hey, Scott, I can't believe
I was
what
like,
just
do you
happened."
feel okay? And he's like, why? And I'm like, because you just passed an ice cream place and didn't immediately stop. He's got
Yes.
the most incredible sweet tooth. And he was just like, I'm full. I was like, wow, I don't know if we've ever experienced this. So Dairyland. So a night later, we were hanging out with Scott's sister and his nephews.
Sorry, I got a jump start on
Oh.
mine.
I know, I started to drink mine too. I was like, I need to stop or I won't have any left for our 0 days. So anyway, we're hanging out with Scott's sister and his nephews and having a nice night. And we were like, hey, let's go to Dairyland and get some ice cream. We didn't get any the other night. We were like, awesome. So we hop on the scooter, hop on the bike. They load the kids up in the van. We're all headed to Dairyland. So we zip up there, we get off the scooter and the bike, and we walk up to the window, and I'm sorry, we ran out of ice cream 30 minutes ago.
Sorry, folks, park's closed. The moose out front should have told you.
Dairyland.
No ice cream.
Ice cream. Yes, I'm going to put it on the screen, a big WTF. Right there,
No
it's
ice
on the
cream.
screen.
No ice cream for you. Yeah, so we ended up driving. We went back to the campsite, loaded into his sister's van, and drove to another town like 10 minutes away to go to a Sonic and get some ice cream. Because at that point you were craving ice cream, right? Once you want ice cream, you're like, no, we have to go find
Once it starts, there's
some
no
ice
stopping
cream.
it.
Yeah,
You get your
so
ice
we
cream.
ended up going to a Sonic. We found a Sonic and got ourselves some ice cream.
But we went with my sister and her sons, and we sat outside of Sonic and sat at a picnic table and had a great time. So here's cheers
crisis
to
averted, 0 days.
But
what are you gonna do?
not what we planned. All right.
Oh, this one's fun. I'm glad Scott has this one because he definitely was.
I'm gonna tone this down substantially, but this is really one of the worst parts of the trip, and it was inconsiderate RV neighbors. So this campground, and I'm putting some photos in this that I took with the drone, so you can kind of see maybe how everything was laid out. There are about 10 or 12 RV spots, and then there's a grass area across the road for tents. That's what they say. I would bet there hasn't been a tent camper at that site for years in the grass area that they specifically say is for tents. What we found out is that the RV people park their RVs there, and they expect to be able to just fill that grass area with their cars and trucks. And so we woke up with a big truck literally 5 feet from our GOzeebo. I mean,
if not
really
closer.
close.
Like there really wasn't even room. Like we put a table outside to put our Blackstone on, and there was room for the table, but not room for us to be standing there and cooking. Like they were really close, which I just don't understand. Like the thought process of I'm just going to park literally on these people's campsite.
Yeah.
I don't know, but their process was where he had parked was literally directly across from his trailer, so he just assumed that was his parking spot.
Yeah. And so I asked the gentleman.
And there was a whole bunch of room farther away from us where they could have parked their cars. They literally did not have to park where they almost would open their door into our tent.
And I'll admit, that's one of the reasons we like the Go. We don't want to park in row after row of RVs. We want to have some space and be able to be like this where, you know, we're not just stacked on top of people. And so it just seemed inconsiderate to me. The second day, I was out cooking and he pulled up, and I mean, he was literally from here to the camera away from me. And I asked him, I said, would you please move? I said, I have some family members that are handicapped, and this is where we need to park them. So plus there's all this room over here. And he copped an attitude and wanted to argue with me and basically tell him that he has the right to park there. This is RV parking. And I politely told him, no, it's tent camping. You just park your RV here because nobody parks their tent here, nobody pitches their tent here. Anyway, I'm going to need more than this one can to keep talking about this.
This one, yeah, this one escalated a little bit, but eventually they left us alone. Like
Yeah.
they moved.
I don't know, maybe that's an RV thing, because in RV parks they're just lined up row after row like a bunch of dominoes, which isn't our thing. So maybe parking right next to somebody's tent is no big deal to RV people, but we thought it was inconsiderate. So we're going to keep finding tent spaces.
We're going to keep finding our tent
And here's
spaces.
another one for that situation.
0 days. That one deserves another one, because that was a bit.
Yeah. Now the last one, this one is the most serious one of the bunch.
This is one where we really have something that you could like take. If you have a gazebo, here's a lesson you can learn.
Or a Go. If you have any of the Sylvan Sport, a Go and a gazebos, the night before the 4th, we knew there were storms coming in, and we always check the radar and kind of keep an eye on what's happening. We had torrential rains and 70-mile-an-hour winds. It was dicey, to say the least. The Go and the gazebo both stood up.
They held up.
Through 70
They really
mile an hour
did.
winds. We were to the point where we both had go bags, like our phones, chargers.
Yeah, we had packed a bag. We were like, if we need to make a run for it, his mom lived like 5 minutes away. We were just going to go to her house. But it was pouring so hard. If we had gotten out like and run to the car, we would have been drenched.
Yep.
It was pouring so hard. And so we were both just like, do we go? Do we not go? If we go, we're just going to be worried. What's
Right.
happening back at the campsite? Like we were just going back and forth. It was like maybe 1:30 in the
Yep.
morning at this point, because it rained from like 1 to 2:30 a.m.
And we're checking radar, and it's red. Right above us is a big red blotch with lightning going all over. I mean, the lightning storm was amazing.
Yeah. And I was just thinking, for those of you that are familiar with the Go, like the beds are on the outside. And I just felt like if we were each in our bed, that's probably the most stable that Go would be. Like, as far as if we got out of it, I was worried like that it was just going to tip over. I don't know. I don't know. Science is hard. I don't know how that all works.
I'm not going to tell her that if the winds got stronger, it wouldn't matter if we
It
were in there or
probably
not.
wouldn't have, but it was shaking. It was rocking. But I just felt like if we stayed in our places, like that was kind of as sturdy as it would possibly be. But then Scott hears a noise.
I heard a noise that didn't sound like thunder, and so I got out of the Go, went over to the gazebo, and I will say the breezeway from the Go to the gazebo made a huge difference. Even though it was coming down hard, it kind of got my legs wet, but my upper half stayed dry. I opened up the door to the gazebo. Basically what happened is we had the Dynamax kitchen set up against the wall, the north wall.
Here's the wall. His hand is the kitchen.
And it
the wall
smacks it a
starts
few
coming in
times,
like this because of the wind.
and boom, the whole Dynamax fell down with everything on it and in it. And so I open up the door over here and look in, and it looked like a tornado hit inside the gazebo.
It totally did. He yells for me. So I come out to go in there. And when I stepped in there, I mean, it was the middle of the night. It was kind of crazy. You're not quite thinking. I mean, I looked at that. I was so confused. And then it registered like, oh, that tipped over and everything flew.
Yeah, so basically we spent the next probably 20 minutes just kind of picking things up. Usually at night we leave part of the windows open on the gazebo, so there's some air that moves through it. So we zipped everything up, zipped all the bottoms, because we usually leave those open a little bit too.
And water had gotten in through there as well.
And so it wasn't the gazebo's fault that water got in, it's just that it was coming in so hard and we had things open. And so we kind of picked things up. The only thing that was destroyed in that whole thing, the Dynamax came out great. Everything else we had was fine. We were fortunate that the little water sink in the Dynamax, we empty that every night. And that's a tip that I would suggest, is make sure you empty that thing. There's never much water in it.
Yeah, but
we
if
do
you
clean
use that
dishes.
sink,
Yeah.
anytime you've used it before, you're going to leave it just sitting there for any amount of time, really dump the water out.
Yeah. So that didn't make a mess. It was really just rainwater, and it broke my French press. So I'm going to have to find another French press for coffee, but
I think our recommendations from that are, if you think there are going to be any kind of wind or storms, hopefully we're not dealing with something like this again in the near future. But I mean, plenty of us go out and camp and, and there's rain and some wind or whatever. I would recommend pulling things away from the walls so that the fabric of the wall itself can't push things over.
yeah. Yeah, I don't know what we would do if the forecast called for 70-mile-an-hour winds again. I felt like a captain in a ship. You want to go down with a ship. You don't want to abandon ship. So I would hate to just leave all that. But safety is a priority. So if it would have gotten worse, we would have.
To say we're more important than the stuff we spent that money on, no matter what.
Yeah.
We did wait it out. I don't know if that was the right choice, but we just kind of figured out by looking at the radar that by the time we got packed up in the car to his mom's house, the storm would essentially be over.
Yeah,
it was just kind of a decision that we made. The other thing we thought about was if we really thought there was going to be some heavy wind, we might set the Dynamax down on its back, just for the evening and, make sure everything's kind of where it won't just fly all over the place. It was a little dicey. Like when we were in there trying to kind of clean things up, the tent was moving. I mean, those walls were popping in at us. It was scary.
Yeah. The other tip we would have, and I will admit that up to this trip, in fact, at the beginning of this trip, we just kind of staked everything down, but we didn't really put them in really far or think about staking them down. In fact, one of the nights it was pretty windy and one of the awning stakes came up, and so the awning was kind of flopping around. So I got up in the middle of the night, pulled out the other stake and just kind of laid it against the GOzeebo. But that would be a tip, is stake everything down really firm. Everything stayed in put again.
Yeah, everything stayed in place. None of the things that we had as issues were because the equipment itself failed.
Yep.
Like when we went back into the Go, my side of the bed was wet, but it was because we always have a little bit of that window open just for air ventilation. And when I went into the GOzeebo, I just didn't even register. Like I should have been like, oh, I should zip up the windows. It's pouring down rain.
Neither one of us even
I
thought
didn't
about
register
it, so.
that. I was in a hurry to get to him because he had shouted, like, you need to get over here. I didn't think about it. And the wind or the rain was really coming from the side of the Go that I sleep on. And so my sleeping bag was wet. It was fine. Like it wasn't a disaster. It was just kind of wet. And then when we packed up the Go, there was actually some water on my side, just at the bottom of the tent, sort of underneath the board and everything. Like, so some of it had just stayed in there. But again, not necessarily because the Go did something or failed. I just didn't register.
The most important part is we know the Go, the GOzeebo, the breezeway, and the awning, they all made it through a
70-mile-an-hour
solid
winds.
90 minutes of 70-mile-an-hour winds. It was,
so that was, we'll toast to 0 days,
to that.
And then we'll toast to, hey, oh, well, I guess you have to drink after you toast, don't you?
Who's keeping track?
Yeah.
What's next?
That's the real thing. It doesn't count if you don't drink after you toast. And then just for the fact that our equipment was good and we were safe. So. And
we had a good time. Even though it's a top 10 thing, most of these things we're laughing about. We had a great time. And again, shout out to Bob and Hillary, the Vancaskeys, because you kind of inspired us to make this video.
You two will be part of our vernacular forever, because now whenever anything goes wrong, we just look at each other and be like, 0 days since our last incident.
Yes. Hopefully we can meet you guys sometime. It seems like it'd be fun to meet up with you and share stories. But
anyway, we just thought it would be fun to share with you what our 6-day trip was like. We know anyone who's out there camping, van life, RV life, that you know what we're dealing with. There's just always something. Having a sense of humor about it will get you through most things. So we hope that you enjoyed this video. If you did, please like and subscribe to our channel. And honestly, if you have a great story of something that has happened to you on a camping trip, please put it in the comments. We'd love to hear what you've been dealing with, or because of an incident that you have some tips and tricks of things that would be helpful for others. Put it in the comments, because we'll learn from it. Someone else will learn from it. We would appreciate that.
Yeah, so I'm going to throw in a bonus. One, we found a replacement bucket.
Oh!
So we were able to use our misting fan.
We did.
We went to the hardware store in the community we were at and found a replacement bucket. 2, we found our stakes back in the garage when we got home. And
We
3,
still haven't found the tablecloth.
we have no clue where the tablecloths are. Not 1, but 2 that we each bought separately. I don't know where they're at. But what's the saying? I get it messed up all the time, but we heard from another camping channel, everything has a place and everything in its place or something like that. And that's what we're learning too, is like, just have a place where you keep things like stakes. Everything has a place to pack, and you make sure it goes back there so next time you know right where it is. So we're learning that as we go. But thanks for checking out this video. We'll see you next time. And that's the last of mine.
I just
So
was worried about the
we're hot
table
again.
being...
Don't worry about it. Just don't shake the table.
Okay. Just don't. It hurts when I do this. Well, don't
Set
do
it
that.
down, pick it up. Whew. This is going to be a fun one. We're hot.
We're hot.